Great. Okay. So I'd like to welcome everyone to, this is a series called Care and the Future of Learning. This is episode 1 with authors that contributed to this special issue. And I'd like to introduce you to Alys Longley, Janaína Moraes, I hope that's okay, and Joanna Cook, who wrote a piece reaching across from here to there in precarious times, a wonderful piece about kind of creativity, working in the mode online, and how to address it in the time of COVID. But can I hand over to you firstly, maybe to give me a sense, or give us the sense, the audience, a sense of who you are, how you came together to collaborate, and then we'll talk a little bit about the paper. Thank you. Anyone?
Well, I was thrilled to be invited to send in an abstract for the journal, I think in collaboration with Bryony Treesize. And I just wanted to acknowledge you, Mary, and your amazing editorial work in bringing together a community of practice across particularly Australia and Aotearoa New Zealand, and giving us this opportunity to share our practice across different academic disciplines, different forms of teaching, different backgrounds, different ways of writing and researching with this thematics of thinking around care and the future of learning, which is, I think, such a vital thing to be thinking about in this moment, of course. So I'm an associate professor at dance studies in the Creative Arts and Industries faculty at Waipapa Taumata Rau, the University of Auckland here in New Zealand. And Janaína and Joanna are both PhD students, and they teach with me on a paper that I've been running for quite a long time, Introduction to Dance and Creative Practices. And so Dance and Creative Practices is a paper that's for all, it's a general education paper. So it's the rules are that no dance students can take it, even though we're in a dance studies program. So students from across the university take this paper and as part of their general education curriculum. So it's one of about 6 papers they do. But it's often, for a lot of them, the only paper they're taking where studio practice and movement and dancing is the assessment. So the assessments are things like making a dance, making a choreography, doing distributed creative practice. So easy, small scale creative experiments in whatever modality inspires them. So we've created assessment rubrics for students to be able to do these creative experiments. And then, during COVID, of course, it was a real challenge to figure out how do we bring the students to have this embodied trust, the sense of community, of learning with each other, and putting creativity at the center of their academic practice for this course through their home studios. And so when I was invited to be part of the paper, I thought of how inspired I am and how much care I feel reciprocally moves between our teaching team, both in the practice of postgraduate supervision and in the practice of running this course and working with students and caring for each other as students and supervisors, as lecturers and teaching assistants, and all this care is moving, and all of this despair was happening in the various challenges that artists have during the pandemic. So that's how the course started, was this invitation to think about how we continue to practice our care through these challenging times. And it was a great opportunity to do it in collaboration with the whole team of the journal.
Exactly, because we had workshops. We built the papers over a period of time too, which was wonderful. And thank you. So it's just incredible. I mean, it's just an incredible course, really. So could I hand over to Joanna or Janaína to share your thoughts? And
I feel equally very, very honored to be part of group of people who wants to think together. We have been talking a lot. So I'm Janaína, sorry, introducing myself. I'm Janaína Moraes. I am originally from Brazil, and I arrived in Aotearoa, New Zealand in 2020. So as soon as the pandemic was also coming with me in this journey. And I feel that as a learner myself, researcher, and also starting my teaching positions in a university context, I felt kind of this welcoming space as such a crucial and such a felt experience that helped me to arrive, really. And I feel like just continuing this journey of co-thinking and co-testing and co-caring, really, because it is a reciprocal thing. We have been talking a lot during this process of writing, co-writing, but also just being together, finding ways to resist moments of crisis, but also to make and transform them as an opportunity somehow.
Yeah.
We have been talking a lot about how we need to co-care. There's never one person that needs to care, and care means so many different things for different realities. So yeah, it's being a very personal and collective, I would say, learning experience.
Yeah, there's something really important about that. I think that co-creation, like just that, and it is a point of resistance, I think, and often we just think of ourselves as these autonomous individuals with our own agencies, and somehow, you know, we'll survive the worst of the crises, and you know, we can't without and I mean, even this weird space of Zoom became something that actually enabled us, I think, to not fall into complete despair. So thank you. So Joanna, could I hand over to you, please?
Yeah, I'm Joanna, and as Alys said, I'm a PhD student at the University of Auckland and co-teach with Jana and Alys on 101G. I think for me during this time, it's been really wonderful to explore these notions of care through teaching practice, also through the supervision and the relationships, as Alys and Jana both said. But just kind of to test the different ways and kind of elasticize what care means within the climate that we live in, the kind of different highs and lows that we went through throughout the time, and how we could support each other through that, and that care kind of means different things to different people at different times. What care is to Alys looks different to what care is to me and to Jana, and having a team of 3 and a wider team as well, and the students, and being able to really explore and kind of really cultivate that understanding has been a really amazing time.
Yeah, and it's the students too. I mean, like they, you know, we're just having to go on this journey of just everyone all of a sudden being thrown into this weird place of having to work and having to think through, you know, pedagogy and trying to do the best in a series of circumstances that nobody knew how to do. And then I think that was part of kind of bringing people together to just sort of think about how do we, I mean, I was having kind of, you know, I was quite despairing at different moments, but then quite excited about trying to learn new ways of teaching. So somehow it was strangely a weird time, but also interesting, you know, to have these conversations with everyone. So, yeah, and workshops. Yeah.
And so for us, putting the body at the center of our practice is something that was core in the article, thinking around encouraging the students to have an embodied experience and to work with their bodies and their ecologies, their sites, and at the same time not forcing them to perform for each other if they weren't comfortable with that, because a lot of them had never performed before, because we get, you know, first-year students who aren't majoring in dance. So to get these students to do kind of alternative artistic practices, and I think it was great for this article to us to think around the theorization of that, how we think around that. We thought about the idea of weak theory, drawings particularly on Kosofsky Sedgwick, and this idea that actually sometimes moving with your weakness and your vulnerability can be a strength, and it can be the thing that enables you to continue to work and create new knowledge.
Yes. Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, I just think that, yeah, there's something about that question of vulnerability and the ethics around that too, which I think is what you, in many ways, explored in the paper. So, look, it's a short little conversation, just a little piece to kind of interest people into the writing and into your article. So I can only recommend people to read it. So thank you kindly for being part of this, and Yeah, is there anything final you wanted to say before we perhaps close up the
I think the last thing I'd say is that the article contains a lot of examples of how we moved our research into our teaching. So I was part of a international project, and then that became part of the pedagogical materials, and same with Janaína and Joanna, and that. So how we brought our dancing research into our pedagogy, and that the pedagogy created new forms of professional dance practice, and the dance practice created new forms of pedagogy, all because we were just trying to continue. So the article contains heaps of hyperlinks to video works and bits of course materials and artist books online. So we've sort of tried to bring in how we created new teaching resources, and they're all linked into the article.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a very kind of interesting writing piece because of all of that too, and it was wonderful to have, because in the journal there were very different pieces, and they all have their own qualities around how they have understood care, and that so therefore care also has political problems too at one level as well. So that's why that kind of co-creative practice, bringing the research into the work, into the teaching, is just incredible. So thank you.
And thanks again, Mary, for the opportunity to be part of such a strong bunch of articles who all engage with this important issue with such articulate and intelligent and innovative different strategies.
Thank you.